Its use has been compared to taking part in a game of Russian roulette. Those high on ice experience a burst of strength and are highly unpredictable, something police say they're struggling to cope with.
People affected by it can become more aggressive and much more difficult to deal with. The issue for police is that we don't know what we're dealing with.
What's even more concerning, locally the use of ice is on the rise.
We can say that this is devastating communities.
Today, the National Ice Task Force hit town, hearing from hunter health professionals, police and residents in an attempt to uncover how the region is being impacted by the drug and to work on ways to halt the epidemic.
We've also heard some very good stories of hope and some very successful intervention programs.
One of those, the stimulant treatment program in Newcastle, is one of only 2 in the state.
People are reluctant to seek help. Maybe people don't know where to get help from. People may not be sure about what treatment can do. One of the key messages we're trying to put out is the treatment's effective.
Police are eager to reassure the public they're making gains in removing the drug from the community.
If we don't have demand, we won't have a market for drug suppliers. And that's why it's important that we do come together like this to address it from a holistic point of view.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Final preparations and checks today at Williamtown as pilots ready one of 2 British Aerospace Jetstream 32 aircraft. Come 6:45 Monday morning, the 19-seater will be full and bound for the nation's capital.
We've been without a service for 17 months to Canberra. Currently people are driving 5 to 6 hours or connecting through Sydney with a 3-hour drive to Sydney. So the patronage will be there.
Fly Pelican will operate every morning and afternoon, Monday to Friday, as well as on Sunday afternoon. It's expecting to cater for up to 22,000 passengers per year, a boost for hunter tourism and corporate commuters.
The Defence Force here at Williamtown will be one of the main users, and obviously the government, local government.
Having an affordable link between the Hunter region and Canberra is something that I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from.
If the name sounds familiar, it's because 95% of its staff, including most of its 10 pilots, are ex-Aero Pelican. Based at Williamtown, Fly Pelican has been operating since February last year as a charter service, but with CASA approval, it's now a fully fledged regional airline. Meanwhile, the $14.6 million Newcastle Airport expansion is on its final approach, refurbishing the old terminal along with the food and retail area. The nearby $20 million airport hotel is also nearing completion and will open in mid-July. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
It's been part of many rescue missions in its time, and it's never been busier. When wild weather lashed the Hunter recently, the Daniel Thane and its crew were in the thick of it, saving 2 lives at Fame Cove and another near Barooby Beach in the space of 24 hours.
As recent as last Friday, we were towing in a 17-metre ketch that had become disabled off Stockton, and that was in big seas.
But this week marks the last time it'll be in dry dock before Marine Rescue looks to upgrade.
It's just getting old, it's getting tired. We need a boat that can do, when it has to, 25 knots plus.
For the 16 years that this vessel has been in operation for the organisation, it's carried out hundreds of rescues, in turn saving plenty of lives. But now the race is on to find the funds for a new boat.
Going to cost us in the order of about 1.1 million. Our head office can support us to about half that cost, but we have to raise the difference.
The state government will cough up 3/4 of the cash, but that will still leave a $350,000 shortfall.
What if you can't raise that money?
Well, we're going to not have an all-weather offshore boat capability here.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
The Broncos headed back to Brisbane battered and bruised, but nursing a precious 2 points. Despite missing a host of Origin stars, the NRL frontrunners opened the scoring. The Knights tied things up through Tyler Randall, with the video ref giving Newcastle the benefit of the doubt. The momentum began to swing as Corbin Sims eventually found a way to crash over. When Joey Leilua reached out to score, the Knights looked like running away with the game. But a Broncos try shortly before the break brought Newcastle's run to a screeching halt, despite going to the sheds in front 18-10. Brisbane's kick return set the tone for a Broncos revival. A few tackles later, the visitors were back in it. The Knights' defence was missing in action as Brisbane regained the lead. It eventually finished 31 points to 18, with Newcastle held scoreless after the break.
We've gone another step backwards this week and we've got a decent challenge going to New Zealand next week, So first things first is get our injuries sorted out, see who's fit and healthy.
Wayne Bennett believes the Broncos' second half was almost perfect, but the coach says he didn't take any extra pleasure out of beating his former club.
I was just pleased we played well. That's what I wanted to come here tonight. There was nothing personal for me about tonight. It was just about us turning up here and keeping the momentum that we played so well in for 11 weeks of the comp now. I just don't want to lose that.
It was luck of the draw today for 8 Northern New South Wales clubs, all daring to dream of FFA Cup glory.
First club drawn, Coffs City United FC. Northern New South Wales football gets 2 spots in the round of 32, and clearly a lot of clubs excited after starting the competition back in February this year. To get to this point, it's a great achievement.
The knockout tournament is based on England's famous FA Cup competition, which gives minnows the chance to face and upstage some of the game's giants.
There is an opportunity for a club that is in the round of 32, a community club, to be pulled out against an A-League club.
The 8 teams vying for those 2 spots begin their battle at Spears Point on June 20. Today's draw saw Jesmond set a date with West Wallsend, while Valentine will play Adamstown, Coffs City meets Edgeworth, and South Armidale face Broadmeadow. The Magic keen for another crack at an A-League team and the national spotlight.
Given that opportunity again, we'd take it with arms open, but we have to win our games to get there, and obviously things have to fall in place for that to happen. But for our club, it was one of the proudest moments we've ever had.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Really looking forward to it. It's never been done before, so Graham Boyd's going to put on a great event there, bring the people to the foreshore to see motor racing. It's very competitive. It's the last round of the Australian Championships, so you're going to have riders from all around Australia coming to get that number 1 plate.
We've got a camp coming up in 2 weeks before the Australian Open on the Gold Coast. Picked a squad of 10 then, moving forward for Asia Pacifics at the end of the year in November over in Christchurch. So fingers crossed can put in some good results.
The mere suggestion of it sparked heated community debate. A week after a 46.9% rate hike was approved, Newcastle councillors met to consider giving themselves a pay rise. The Lord Mayor says in light of council's financial position, it would have been inappropriate.
I thought it was appropriate that we do not take a pay increase this year and look at putting that money into a project that there has been much discussion about, and that is upgrading the Wallsend Town Centre.
The $12,000 set aside for the pay rise will be spent on a new town centre master plan.
So looking at a facade improvement scheme, upgrades to footpaths, roadways, curb and guttering.
It's welcome news for local businesses who say the upgrade is long overdue.
One of the things that breeds confidence in businesses when they can see the council's looking after a main street.
And while council voted for a 12-month pay freeze, that motion was supported by all but one. Brad Luke wants the current $25,500 annual fee for councillors reduced.
The public needs to understand we can choose anywhere between about $16,000 and $27,000. Even though we're not increasing it, we are right near the top of that band.
The issue of parking has also raised concerns. Council last night adopted a report aimed at addressing a lack of it on busy suburban streets. Councillor Luke believes the strategy paves the way for the rollout of meters in areas like Hamilton and the Junction.
Last night's decision was very clear that they did not support the rollout of any further parking meters.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
This is the tree councillor Paul Lamotti says could have killed his family when it came down during last month's cyclonic storm.
Now that tree is of a length that had it have fallen towards the house, it would have crushed my wife and I, and depending on the exact angle, would have taken out one of the other children's bedrooms.
The tree was free from disease and decay.
If I had taken it out 2 weeks before that storm and tried to claim it was dangerous, I would have been fined, I would have been laughed at, and I would have been ridiculed.
Thousands of previously healthy trees still littered the area after falling during the storm. Councillor Lamotti believes many more were damaged and continue to pose a risk. Now residents have been given the all clear to get rid of them. Port Stephens councillors last night voted in favour of suspending the rules over tree removal for the next 12 months and approved the mayoral minute in its entirety almost unanimously. However, today that move attracted some objection. The Greens issued a statement saying the tree removal policies are irresponsible and may be unlawful, and that the changes have the potential to cause major damage to valuable habitat for koala populations, labelling them unnecessary and contrary to public interest.
So it is not going to be wholesale removal of trees. It is just going to allow people that are terrified of a tree in their place to get a professional tree lopper to remove it.
Madeleine McKell, NBN News.
They're fitness fanatics set for an event that has a special cause attached.
We're running the ultimate human race, the Comrades, on Sunday to raise funds for some African charities.
The Comrades Marathon in South Africa is the world's oldest and largest ultramarathon. It's run over a distance of approximately 90 kilometres and regularly attracts more than 20,000 entries from across the globe. Needless to say, it requires plenty of preparation.
We start on Christmas Day and we slowly build up, and our longest run is 75 kilometres, so we've done that, tick, and lots of strength training. It's a huge commitment, but we're ready.
Through sponsors, the Hunter Runners hope to raise more than $10,000 for underprivileged communities, and they'll also volunteer their time.
We're going to a disabled school in Durban and supplying clothes and school supplies, and then we're going to the poor farmlands in Zimbabwe, and we're also going to a soup kitchen in the slums of Namibia.
It will be Kylie Burnley's first attempt at the event, and she says a good friend is her inspiration.
I've seen Corey do it for the past umpteen years, and it's something that I never thought that I would be able to do myself. And it's coming up to my 30th birthday. I'm going across with the girls to celebrate that, and I thought that I'd always regret not giving comrades a try.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
They led Brisbane by 8 at the break on Monday night. Today, the Knights offered a few reasons for their second half capitulation.
Oh, lack of concentration to begin with.
I think in the second half we were just a little bit out enthused to start the half.
Probably lack of concentration, I think.
Newcastle's right edge defence has copped plenty of criticism. The return of the Warriors' Manu Vatuvei this week will put even more pressure on Sione Matautia and Akila Uate.
I think he's got enough credit, Aku, to sort of still obviously be in the team, but he knows he needs to get better. He needs to work at it, and we're looking for some improvement there.
The Knights are hoping to welcome back their own high-profile troops, including Jeremy Smith and Beau Scott. Kurt Gidley has passed a concussion test, but is also nursing a corked thigh.
He'll be on light duties, I would suggest, tomorrow, and we'll have some idea where he's up to, but I'd say he's 50, 60, 40 of playing at this stage.
Corbin Sims scored his third career try on Monday. Coincidentally, all three have come against the Broncos. Sims admits he'd love to be lining up for Queensland tonight. For now, his focus remains at the Knights.
Just trying to build on performances each week. I'm not playing up to what I was at the start of the year, so I'm just trying to get back to that point where I was at the start, that I can just really work hard on and hopefully try and get the starting spot back.
The young forward has a simple game plan for Sunday's clash.
Like you said, Auckland's always a hard place to go and play football, but if we can dominate possession, which we really haven't been able to do this year, I reckon we'll get the win.
For Chris Houston, the game represents his 150th for Newcastle.
If we get the win, it'll be great, but yeah, I'm not too worried about personal achievements. I just want us to get our season back on track.
The head of the A-League back in town, this time after telling Phil Stubbins he's no longer wanted.
He was very disappointed, understandably. All the demand from the public and from our perspective for a fresh start. So we landed where we landed. We thought it was important to get started quickly, and so we moved forward.
But it seems that same haste in getting rid of a coach won't be repeated in terms of naming a new one.
It'll be probably a couple of weeks away before we're ready to announce. We're going through a process. You hear a lot of names bandied about.
One of those, former Sydney FC captain and football commentator Mark Rudin.
Mark's one of a number of candidates that have been bandied about, and we'll wait and see how that plays out. I think the fact that someone who's coaching in the National Premier Leagues is being seriously touted for a head coach job in the Hyundai A-League is a great sign of our coaching pathway.
Nutting out like-for-like contracts with the Jets' 15 existing players is another item high on the agenda.
Making sure the transition is as smooth as possible. It is a complex issue when one company ceases and a new one is started with people who've got contracts in that company. You need to make sure you get that right. So we've been working through that in some detail.
The FFA is also looking to mend fences with the Hunters corporate community and find the club a new owner.
And we'll see how that unfolds. We've got a clear objective to have a new owner in place by the start of the new season.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Supported by his current girlfriend, Zane Tetevano arrived at Newcastle local court. Inside, his lawyer requested that sentencing be adjourned so the former NRL player could finish a 20-week domestic violence course. The 24-year-old forward was sacked by the Knights in 2014 after smashing the windscreen of a taxi. He then had a contract with Manly torn up late last year after he pleaded guilty to repeatedly assaulting his former partner. Today, Magistrate Ian Cheetham noted that there had already been significant delays in the case and proceeded with sentencing. Tetevano's defence lawyer had argued that her client should receive a community service sentence, saying that he was a completely different person to whom he had been during what she called a very dark period in his life as an NRL star. She said he had also been diagnosed with major depression and showed genuine remorse and contrition over his actions. She also said Tetevano now works 60 hours a week and has no desire to return to the limelight or the toxic environment that the NRL invites. However, after giving a detailed account of Tetevano's attacks on his ex-girlfriend, Magistrate Cheetham described the matters as very, very serious, adding that while he took into account Tetevano's background circumstances, including a psychologist's report outlining anxiety and anger issues and emotional difficulties, the only suitable option was jail. He then handed down an 18-month sentence with a non-parole period of 9 months. Madeline McKell, NBN News.
Sydney's art gallery is set to undergo an elaborate $450 million transformation, something that's a bit on the nose to supporters of Newcastle's gallery, who have been working for years to secure a revamp here.
It's a wonderful art gallery, and obviously they have a fantastic collection and they need more space to show it. That's a problem that Newcastle knows well.
The gallery houses the most significant public art collection outside Sydney. Previously, Council and the federal government had backed plans for a $21 million redevelopment, but it all fell apart when the state government failed to come up with its share.
At the moment, the state government seems to have the money, particularly with the sale of our port. $14 million from them is not a huge amount of money, particularly when you think of $450 million for the Art Gallery of New South Wales.
Gallery supporters are not giving up on seeing their dream realised.
Now I think it's a different time. There's a different group of people running council, and maybe the federal government would like to revisit that decision, and maybe they could give us that $7 million back and then the state could match it.
Emma Murphy, NBN News. It's scenes like these picturing the devastation in Dungog that are now etched in minds across the country. But locals are working to change that, slowly restoring colour and joy back to the town through music. The Planet Dungog Music Festival was planned before the tragedy, and the community has decided the show must go on.
The storms and floods and the disaster and that continuing, I suppose, tragedy and loss, which will be going on for months. It's really nice to have some sort of event to add a little bit of a G up.
They really wanted the festival. Business wanted the festival. They wanted people to come to Dungog, and they want a party, and it's going to be a great party.
Half of the money raised will go towards helping those who were hit the hardest.
We've been given enormous amount of sort of practical help and clothing and food and all of that sort of thing. But at this stage, really, it's more down to funds. People need funds now.
Starting tomorrow, the 3-day event will feature homegrown talent, as well as bands from as far as New Zealand.
If you support the festival, you're also supporting the recovery.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
And I think I'm at an age where I'm still young enough to associate with kids in their seniors years, in years 11 and 12, who are about to go out into the real world and deal with these issues themselves.
It's a problem the Knights are desperate to correct in their lead-up to their match with the Warriors. Conceding tries on either side of the break against the Broncos proved costly.
We've only got ourselves to blame, and it's happened to us a couple of times this year, and it's something that we don't want to be known for, and something that we're looking to change.
Hooker Adam Clydesdale returns to the starting lineup after recovering from a shoulder injury. He's enjoying some healthy competition with Tyler Randall and Chad Redman.
It's good, me, Chad and Tyler are all good mates. We all keep each other honest. So, to see Chad get a shot was good, and I'm glad he went good.
Knights Origin representative Beau Scott did his bit in last night's 1-point loss to Queensland. The back rower will travel to New Zealand, but a decision on whether he plays will be left until the last minute. Today, a clubmate was putting his hand up for Origin 2.
I'd love nothing more. I'm so hungry for that Blues jersey, and look, all I can do is make sure that I'm keeping putting the numbers on the board and let my football do the talking, and hopefully Laurie notices that, and if a change is made, hopefully some back row, because I want to play so bad.
But one former Blue says Sims isn't ready.
I think Tarek's playing some good football at the moment for the Knights, but I think he's just a bit off yet. That's my opinion. I think there's a few forwards in front of him, but he is playing some really good football for the Knights.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
You've got to be invited to go into the duels, so it's not really something that many people do. It's a lot harder racing over there and a lot different, but no, it's just absolute thrill to be invited and to be in it. The first time he was too tired and the second time he was a bit underdone, but Shane's reports back that he's pretty much spot on. He's working absolutely super, so fingers crossed for Saturday night.
It was the biggest storm the Hunter had seen in decades. Last month's East Coast low left thousands without power, forcing Ausgrid to deploy additional personnel to help repair and restore the network. Today, Hunter Labor MPs used that quick response as political ammunition.
In the event of privatisation, what we'll see is less workers able to be on the ground helping our community. And what we will see is that people who are more vulnerable and at risk will be placed at greater risk.
That's a claim the government denies. Robert Harper, who was unable to use his electric wheelchair to its full capacity for 10 days in the wake of the storm, fears losing access to vital services for prolonged periods.
Well, it's not only me it's going to be affected. It's going to be everyone that needs life-saving equipment in their homes to keep them in their homes.
The government has also been criticised over its appeal to the Australian energy regulator to increase power prices.
That's got to be bad for consumers, it's got to be bad for businesses, and it's got to be bad for ongoing prices.
The final report of a parliamentary inquiry into the plan is due on June 2. Lauren Kelly, NBN News.
Penny Sharp in town to see how current height restrictions could change the face of Newcastle's historic East End. The Shadow Minister for Planning making it very clear she'll fight to have the limits lowered.
It's an opportunity now. There's a new minister. The council has recently signed an MOU with Urban Growth where they're actually going to start talking about these issues. There's a chance to get this right, and it's the opportunity to get it right.
In 2012, the Newcastle Urban Renewal Strategy set building heights at 8 stories, something that was overturned last year by the former planning minister to allow for buildings 17 stories high. And with GPT and Urban Growth having plans for several high-rise towers in the city, one initially proposed as 19 stories high, residents have been very vocal in their push for the original limit to be restored.
We support development, but we want appropriate development in such a significant part of our city.
The original Urban Renewal Strategy had a lot of consultation, it had a lot of support from the community. The overriding of that has been very detrimental.
Newcastle MP Tim Krakenthorpe says Urban Growth and GPT need to rethink their plans.
It's about getting them down to an acceptable level that is good for the whole community.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
It will allow people to readily access buses or trains. It will get people, hopefully, and I believe it will, using public transport. So that's going to be good for the Newcastle CBD as well.
It boasts a $95 million price tag, and now the University of Newcastle is a step closer to beginning work on its latest facility, New Space. Each member of the team responsible for getting the project off the ground, keen to dig up their own patch of dirt.
This is a really wonderful milestone, the planning of such an iconic building that's going to deliver such a unique resource in terms of education and research and innovation.
Located in the heart of the city's CBD, the precinct will use the latest technology to transform how higher education is delivered to both business and law students.
It's a space in which there will be new ways of engaging with our students, online learning and teaching, blended learning approaches, very much fast forwarding our technology-enabled learning.
While the facility's focus on sustainability has been recognised at the highest national level.
This development will be the university's first 5-star rated green facility, and as we understand, it's the region's first 5-star rated facility as well.
Construction will get underway once investigations from an archaeological dig to source and preserve any historical artefacts have concluded. The university hopes the new campus will be complete by 2017. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Defeating the 3-time defending premiers last weekend showed the rest of the competition just how far the Seagulls have come. But the captain isn't getting carried away.
I still think we've got a lot of improvement to go, and West is still there. I think that was a good win for us to see where we're at.
After some lean years, Lakes are now looming as a premiership threat with 5 wins from 5 starts to their name. The acquisition of former West halfback Brad Murray in the off-season has made all the difference.
Brad's good, and it's good they've got him there, and just our edges I think are pretty strong.
Tomorrow the side travels to Cessnock, and Adams can't wait to face his former club.
I've got a soft spot for Cessnock, and I always will, and I want them to do well, and I think they've still got a long way to go as far as their playing abilities.
In tomorrow's other matches, Maitland hosts West, South Newcastle take on the Scorpions, while on Sunday Central Newcastle come up against the Bulldogs. Michael Kane, NBN News. All was going to plan last week for Nelson Bay, leading Maitland by 11 points midway through the second half, before the Gropers game fell apart.
We sort of self-imploded there with the last 20 minutes. Bit of ill discipline cost us in the end. We addressed that at training this week, and that won't happen again.
The loss now sees the club sitting just outside the top 5. Tomorrow they'll get the chance to break back in when they take on Merewether.
This is a huge game for us this week, just to get back on the horse, so to speak, and I think it'll be one of the games of the season. They're a good team, a good forward pack and a really good back line. They've got the country halves, so they'll be a big challenge this week.
The match will also see Scottish imports Ross Aiken and Tom Hart make their debut, while 5'8" Chad Northcott will look to reproduce the form he showed against Maitland last weekend.
He's so skillful and controls the game for us, controls our field position, and he brings real calmness to the back line.
In the match of the round, 2 undefeated clubs, Wanderers and Hamilton, clash at the number 2 sports ground, and the Hawks will be bolstered by the return of captain Steve Lamont from a hamstring injury. In other matches, Lake Macquarie take on the Students, the Bulls host Southern Beaches, and Maitland will be looking for its second win of the season away to the Waratahs. Michael Kane, NBN News.
A captivated audience seeing firsthand the kind of rescues firefighters are involved in on a daily basis. Fire stations across the state opened their doors to the public, but for crews at Salamander Bay, it held special meaning.
The community response is great. This is our first year at the new station here at Salamander Bay, and I think we've had probably twice as many people as what we've had in the years.
The new $1.9 million base has been operational since late last year, and Deputy Captain Glenn Blanche says it's made a huge difference in speeding up response times. Today, the fire truck proved most popular as Tiny Tots took a seat behind the wheel, while others practiced their aim with the hose. Despite the fun, there was a serious message as the mercury continues to drop and firefighters enter their busiest period for house fires. With 2 houses destroyed by fire in the Hunter in just over a week, Blanche says prevention is key.
We try and promote safety within the home in regards to our smoke alarms. We have some talks on that: smoke alarms, fire extinguishers and fire blankets. And just to ensure that everyone's got their gear up to date for this oncoming fire season.
Lauren Kelly, NBN News. It's Australia's great race, boasting a rich 71-year history and a sea of stories. Solo world circumnavigator Tony Mowbray is leading the Lake Macquarie reunion and says the club has made a big contribution to the race.
In 1961, a boat called Rival won the Sydney to Hobart race, and then in 1976, a boat called Piccolo, both owned and skippered by Lake Macquarie Yacht Club members and crewed by Lake Macquarie Yacht Club members. Deep, rich history.
The adventurer says tonight's meeting of past sailors should uncover some tall tales.
The truth bit's a bit hard. You know, when you're around sailors drinking beer, the truth doesn't seem to come to the surface too often. We all tell each other how good we were when we weren't really.
Collected photos and memorabilia include items from the catastrophic race of 1998, where 6 sailors died and 55 crewmen had to be airlifted following severe weather conditions.
In just 4 days, we have witnessed extraordinary courage, strength, initiative and sadness.
The remains of the snapped mast from Mr Mowbray's vessel Solo Globe Challenger, a grim reminder of the race's most tragic year.
I personally was in that race along with many other club members, and you know, from our point of view, very simply, for 15 hours we thought we'd found out how we're going to die. So that leaves an indelible imprint.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
It's a great reward for me to come to an event like this and see the strength of your community and exactly what you're doing.
A top-of-the-table clash between competition heavyweights. 2 early penalty goals gave the home side a 6-point lead. But the Hawks hit back through the boot of Jason Keelan. 2 Blues outside centre Tapaki Rahui was starting to make inroads and causing havoc for the Hawks. Dan Kevill went close to scoring not only once, but twice in the space of 7 phases. But it was the Hawks who delivered a sucker punch, as one hooker dropped the ball, the other providing for his winger, who went all the way. Scott Coleman's side was on a roll, and this 3-on-2 saw the visitors cross to lead by 11 into the break. But a dominant second-half performance saw Hamilton go on to win the match 41-25. In other round 7 matches today, the Waratahs defeated Maitland while Southern Beaches accounted for Singleton. In a high-scoring match, the Students beat Lake Macquarie and the Greens did enough against the Bay. Michael Kane, NBN News. He's an AFL star on the rise. Today, Isaac Heaney was back in Newcastle to watch his club's reserves play.
It's good to come back here and catch up with all the people that supported me throughout my whole career. But no, it's just starting.
After being picked up by the Sydney Swans in the draft and impressing in pre-season, the 19-year-old excelled in an opening round call-up.
I was pretty lucky to get the opportunity against Essendon round 1, and just tried to take the most of that. It's a massive step up in intensity, and I was lucky enough to kick a goal as well, and we got the win.
What was it like to sing the team song?
Yeah, that was great. It was like I said, it was a dream come true, and loving it.
But an injury in round 5 against Melbourne now has him sidelined. But he's not far away from a return.
It's coming along real nicely, so I'll be back. I reckon I could go probably next week or the week after, but I think they're pretty cautious with me and hold me back a few more weeks.
After last night's 60-point win over Carlton, getting back into the side might be easier said than done, but he has a buddy supporting him all the way.
They're playing very well, and there's not many people you could kick out of the team. And obviously saw last night I kicked 7 goals, and have someone like that take you under their wing is pretty important.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Three years ago, Troy Pearce's life hit rock bottom. Charged with drink driving and facing time in jail, that's when he was put in contact with the Salvation Army.
I had no hope. I had no future, and the Salvos have given me a future, and they've given me a great support network.
Like Troy, Jo Darby says she owes her life to the Salvos. In the grip of addiction, she was admitted to the charity's Transformation Centre at Duralong.
Being involved with the Salvos has given me hope and faith and, life. Gave my life back.
Both are now giving back, volunteering for the Red Shield appeal.
We were out collecting yesterday, and those people that were home were very generous and very giving.
This morning, hundreds were out across the Hunter, knocking on doors. The target, to raise $1.5 million for local youth, finance and drug and alcohol programs. This is the Salvo's single biggest weekend fundraiser of the year, and without the money they raise here, they couldn't help the some 60,000 people that seek their services in the Hunter. And with demand on the rise, every dollar counts. Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
They came in all shapes and sizes, from Sydney to the Central Coast, to raise money and donate goods to people affected by last month's cyclonic storm.
We weren't expecting this many. We were hoping but weren't expecting, and just walking around and seeing the support we've got, it's just amazing. We just put it on Facebook, put a call out, and everyone from everywhere has responded with some really nice machines.
The convoy rolled out of Beresfield and finished at Maitland, with many of the vehicles proudly displaying red ribbons, sold in the lead-up to raise money.
Looking at around $400 so far with donations. Then we've got a lot of cars with boot full of clothes, food, etc.
The family-friendly event was organised by the Hunter Valley Motor Enthusiasts Group, which was moved by the plight of flood victims.
I'm a truck driver at this present stage, and I've actually had to travel through all of the flood-affected areas, so it's kind of taken to my heart a bit.
Car lovers only too happy to hit the road for a good cause.
We've got a few people in the club that have got family up around the area. They've been involved in the floods and victims of the flood, so we thought we'd chuck our 2 bob in and see if we could help out.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
We deliver preventive drugs and alcohol education to primary school children, and we visit about 30,000 in the Hunter. So the proceeds from today just help us to make that possible every year.
The Knights were already missing Jared Mullen and Kurt Gidley, leaving Carlos Tuamavave to debut at 5/8. Things got worse when halfback Tyrone Roberts suffered an ankle injury. The Warriors showed no sympathy, racing more than 50 metres to open the scoring. Akila Uate was powerless to stop the man they call the Beast, Manu Vatuvai, from scoring his 17th try in 17 games against the Knights. Down on troops and confidence, Newcastle found a way to hit back through Dane Gagai. The Warriors then extended their advantage with a controversial try. The 4 points were awarded despite inconclusive evidence. Down but not out, again the Knights provided a response. Uate grabbed his revenge, outclassing Vatuvai to score in the corner. Up 14-8, the Warriors went further in front thanks to some weak Newcastle defence. But Tuamavave was growing in confidence. He linked with Tarek Sims, who put James McManus over in the corner. When Tyler Randall kicked the conversion, the margin was down to 6. But the world's best player had other ideas, as Sean Johnson weaved his magic. Uate somehow found a way to give the Knights hope in the dying stages, but the home side would hold on in a frantic finish. It's only round 8, but Broadmeadow was looking for a win to take its season tally to 20 points, equal to the team's entire haul in 2014. Peter Haynes got the home side off to the ideal start. Cale Bradbury has been in great form in recent weeks. He and Haynes exposed the Bears' defence to make it 2-0. Western had a great chance to get back in it, but the Bears were struggling to beat keeper Nathan Archbold. The turning point came a few minutes later as Troy Hearfield's tackle ended Haynes' afternoon. Hearfield survived with only a yellow card. The visitors then rubbed salt into the wound, making it 2-1 thanks to Gary McDermott. Just before half-time, the Magic had a golden opportunity, but Chris Berlin's shot could only find the post. Western raced out of the blocks in the second act. Carl Thornton scored the easiest of headers to make it 2-2. Tension between the sides was mounting as Josh Piddington received a yellow. Scott Pettit had a great chance to restore Broadmeadow's advantage, but at the other end it was Jamie Subat who put the Bears in front for the first time. But the contest was far from over. The head of Dino Fajovic got the Magic back on level terms. There was more push and shove as both sides went looking for a winner. Despite calls for offside, Jake Milstead gave Western all 3 points in the final minute.